In the name of Amen the Supreme, the All-Powerful, the one and only true Lord, and Amen we trust, as the Republic of Mentellect, the true 144,000 being gathered in this day and time, the Mentellians. Benzeka Aminun to all of my Mentellian brothers and sisters out there, registered members of the Republic of Mentellect, and to all future Mentellians who have yet to find their way home to the Republic of Mentellect, which is Amen's community. I send greetings out to you, and I send peace out to you in our Mentellian language by saying to you, Benzeka Aminun. Good evening, I'm your host, the intellectual Nuben Menkares, and this is Mentellect Radio, and tonight we're going to be discussing how to purify your money. We already know we're in a system where the most evil, demented, and demonic people are printing this money, controlling the circulation of this money, right, and dispatching it out to the masses, to the public, all over the world, right? And they are doing this as a form to control spending, currency, and things like that. However, the energy, the spiritual energy that goes over this money is very demonic. And the money has become very hypnotic, right, to the people. It's become very hypnotic and seducing. And a lot of people have been seduced into doing all sorts of evil and demonic things for the love of money, for the desire of money, need or want to possess it. And thus they become possessed by it. And this makes the money filthy. It goes into making you filthy as people inside, mind, body, and soul. To whereas this is the law that guides you into the spiritual possession of the beast. He uses money as a tool to guide you like the Pied Piper into spiritual possession so that he can possess you spiritually. Next thing you know, you're doing everything for it. You kill for it. You rob for it. You'll sell your souls for it, sell your bodies for it, right? Sell poison to people, drugs to people, for anything. Anything to possess it. So already it has left a dirty impression in your mind. It has left a dirty impression in your mind. And even those of you who say, well, I wouldn't do all that to get money, you have a lot of you have unhealthy addiction toward wasting money on nonsense, on foolishness, on stupidity. The very thing you go out here and grind for, work for, put in hours at work for to possess, you go right back and give it to other people who are going to then put it to good use and taking care of their families, right, representing or supporting their causes. And this is how they take your money and purify it. When you see the so-called Asian, the Arab, and all these people, the Caucasian, or whatever, in your neighborhoods, right, whether they're your landlords, whether they selling you food, selling you whatever, hair, weaves, whatever the hell they selling you, they don't really want to be around you. They feel that being around you is like the worst thing possible. They hate your guts, but they'll be around you to get your money, right? They'll be around you to get your money because they plan on purifying that money by sending their children to school, building up things in their community, basically standing up for things, right? Supporting things, right? Notice black people don't really support anything of their own. They don't support anything of their own, right? Nothing. Nothing that's going to be about the upliftment of self and kind. They do not. White people will support their own thing. Even if it is evil and demonic, they will support it. And this is their way of purifying their money. This is their way of taking the money that passes through the hands of so many degenerate people in the world and putting that money to good use, right? When we say the word purify, the word pure means fire. Puree means fire, right? When you purify your money, you are putting it into a line of motivation, movement, motion. You're basically using it to power something, to fuel something greater, right? Not to power it to buy you some weed, right? to buy you some sneakers, to buy you some jewelry, to buy some weeds, whatever the hell y'all waste your money on, cigarettes, whatever, you know, because y'all throw away plenty of money like that. And I said this in class. I said the reason why black people find it so hard to make money is because you have no idea on what to do with it. Now, the extended answer of that is when you have something or you find something worthwhile to do something to use it for, you're supposed to purify that money. It's supposed to, you know, take on a whole nother energy, your money. It's supposed to extend itself. When you find something worth putting your money into, right, supporting, you are purifying and extending your money, and you are becoming extended because you all have been taught to worship money. You have been taught to put money on a pedestal, right? You have been taught to waste money and consume, right? Because people never really wanted you to find something. Some of these other races of people never really wanted you to find something that was worth you spending your money on, like supporting your own community. Supporting your own community is worth you spending your money on. Look how much stuff the Nation of Islam got done under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, you talking about, just giving this as an example, you talking about back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Look at all the wealth that the Nation of Islam acquired as an organization, as a movement, as a nation within a nation, from people who had honest jobs, hard work, and didn't make much money, but look what they were able to build, and look what they were able to amass, because they were purifying their money. They could have went out here and bought cigarettes and liquor and pork and all the things black people like to do, clothes and jewelry, and waste money on that, just piss it all down the drain. But they chose to do something that would extend them and make an impression in the minds of their children for the future. Because when you invest your money in community, when you invest your money in community, you are making an impression for the future. You are extending yourself and the community. You are collectively purifying that money, right? Now, they say in the so-called Jewish community, the dollar goes around 20, 30 times and whatnot before it leaves the community. In other words, these so-called Jews are spending money with each other, and they're purifying that money that comes from outside their community by circulating it within their community. And what do black people do? They make sure as soon as the black people get the money, it go right out. It don't even take it don't even go through two or three black people's hands before it goes out of the damn community. And the reason for that is because black people don't have a community, number one. That's the biggest reason. They don't have a community, right? They'd rather give their money to other people, which keeps their money filthy and dirty. You are actually funding the people who hate your goddamn guts. You are funding the people that hate your goddamn guts. All these different races of people who you give your money to for shoes and bags and clothes and jewelry and all this other crap. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with having nice things. Don't get me wrong. That's the same money you could put into formulating or starting your own bag companies, your own shoe companies, looking into partnering up with people of your communities to start your own businesses and selling to your own kind. That's how you purify your money. That's how you do it. This is how you start to use money as a tool and not be used by it as a possession. That's how you start to purify your money. When you start creating a different motion, right, and movement with your money. Like I said, it's only paper. It is only paper. Now, you can use that paper to be possessed by or be possessed by that paper, or you can use it as a tool to extend your reach and your impression in the world. Because again, at the end of the day, it's all material things you are acquiring, but it's not the material possession that you're actually after. They're nice and whatnot, but it's not the ultimate end-all be-all. The ultimate goal is the impression that you make in the minds of the people who see that you are cooperating, and it will give them the energy and the thought process to perhaps do the same thing. So you are fostering and nurturing cooperation by you purifying your money, working together collectively. You are fostering something. So when people look at you and say, "Oh yeah, those Mentalians over there, they working for other and with each other and whatnot. They supporting their community. They doing this together. They starting these businesses together and whatnot." And again, it ain't about just the money and the material things. It's about cooperation. It's about cooperation because that's something black people don't do. And any ones of our people who have moved past the black stage, as I said, out of the stage of sleeping into the state of being awakened, not woke, but awakened, we realize that anything that we get, any sort of resources we get, we need to purify that, right? By using it amongst us. By using it amongst us to better ourselves and not better other people, because you have a poisoned mind when you would rather better other people's condition, right, than to purify your own. You have a poisoned mind when you want to run out and buy a $400 Louis Vuitton bag or $300 sneakers or whatever the hell else you throwing your money away on something that costs these people next to nothing to make. Cost them maybe $5 to make that bag, $2 to make those sneakers, and you going out here, that's a poison mindset. They'll charge you $200 for something that cost them $2 to make. Right? When people said, I'm gonna just use this as an example. When people find out, that we pay dues in here in the Republic of Mental, like I don't make no secret of that. When members pay $100 membership, you got people in here saying, "What you paying?" Or Negroes, what you paying $100 for? See, why you gotta pay to be in it? These are the same people that turn around and get a white man $100, $200 for a pair of sneakers that cost him $2 to make, but they think that's a fair trade. Yet we building a community here, a real community here that's priceless. That is priceless. That's priceless. But for people who can put a high price tag on a pair of sneakers that cost the so-called white man $2 and $3 to make it some goddamn Chinese country somewhere and charge you $200 for $250 for it, and you guys will get up and line up in the damn Foot Locker in the goddamn street somewhere like fools camping out for them sneakers that he gonna re-release anywhere at a cheaper price. You're poisoned mentally. Your money is poisoned. Your money is poisoned. Your money carries energy on it because, see, once it's in your pocket, once you are holding on to it, once you put all this energy into getting it, it carries your energy on it. And it carries the energy of other people who are poisoned on it. So what does the beast do? What does mankind do? He says, all these people who these dollars pass through their hands didn't know what to do with it. They actually spent $300 on a pair of sneakers, $200 on this, that, and the third. We're gonna take this and we're gonna build our community. We're gonna take this and maybe we're gonna buy a franchise of Dunkin' Donuts. We're gonna buy a franchise of this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna work together. We're gonna support our community. We're gonna support our causes, our organizations, and whatnot to show that we are united and cooperative. In that way, wealth continuously comes in, because once you purify the money becomes wealth. Once you purify the money, once you have a goal, a reason that's about you and not about nobody else, about you, meaning your community, you and your community. Once you have that goal in mind to support your community, to build onto your community, to make sure you support what you're doing, then again, that's purifying your money. You're making a lasting impression. You are making a lasting impression. You are showing other people that, yes, I am willing to support my community. I am willing to support what we do here, be it books, whatever. Everything that you're willing to support, I'm willing to support that. That's sacrifice. Purification comes by way of sacrifice. Purification comes by way of sacrifice. When you purge your body out, when you cleanse your body and whatnot, you are sacrificing eating junk and all kind of other nonsense, and you're putting good things into your body to build up your body, to sweat out the fats and the poisons and things like that. You are purifying your body by way of sacrifice. You are sacrificing eating garbage. So when you sacrifice spending your money on nonsense, right? Nonsense like bags and sneakers and clothes and jewelry. And like I said, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having that. But when you're starting to go overboard with it, because you'll see these so-called white people, they ain't spending all that money on no bag. They'll find a thrift store, things like that. They'll buy stuff and whatnot, and they're not going to spend all that money on stuff like that. They just not. And most of the stuff you spend all this money on is not quality anyway. It's gonna basically fade away. Like I said, you can spend money on something that is going to make you money or something that's going to last. That's one thing. There's another thing to spend money on some crap that's going to basically fall apart, going to get old, get holes in it, get worn out. Right? Something that's going to last, you can spend some a little extra money on, something that's going to make you money. You can spend money on. You understand? Like I gave the example of me purchasing a camera that cost $5,000. I gave this as an example. Now, again, people would think that's a lot of money. It's not, because again, that camera is going to be used to make films and go on and generate money for my community, right? Books are going to come out, things are going to go, so you keep the machine going. You use your money to keep the machine going, keep the community going, support the community. See, black people, like I said, they don't have anything worthwhile to put their money into. They don't have anything worthwhile, right? They don't have anything worthwhile to put their money into. So they give it to the beast. And then they'll turn around and call the white man the devil and this, that, and the third, how much they hate the white man, or whoever, this black on white thing, but then they quick to help and give their money to the white man. How backwards is that? How backwards is that? They quick to hurry up and give their money to the so-called devil, to the so-called white man and whatnot, and because they don't support nothing that they own. Right? White people, they always looking to support something that they own. They'll give money up for something that they really believe in. It could be, like I said, some clan nonsense, some organizational nonsense, some, whatever it is. They'll support it. Whatever they believe in, they're going to support heavily. Whatever they feel is, going to benefit them in the long run as a community, as a collective, not as individuals, but as a collective, what's going to benefit them long term as a collective, they'll put money into, and they'll support it because it makes an impression that these people stick together. That's pure. That's pure power. The fact that you can show through your money and through your giving of it, through your sacrifice, because in this world, and especially amongst black people, they always tell you, I don't be giving your respect. Well, they do it with so-called, when you're giving it to other so-called black people, you giving your money to, you giving your money to that. But when it comes to the white man, they don't say that. When it comes to so-called white man, they don't say that. They'll never say nothing. I spent $300 on this belt or this bag and whatnot, and such and such. Oh, really, girl? Yeah. Oh, I spent money here in the Republican Mint, like I paid my dues and whatnot. You giving them money for what? What you giving money for? That's supposed to be for free. That's the mind of sick people. These are the same people, like I said. This is why I said what I said about white supremacy cannot exist without black inferiority. That is the state of black inferiority. That is the state of a poisoned mind. And those type of people, I tell all the time, I don't want their money because their money is poison. Their money's tainted. That's poison money. I don't want it. All dollars ain't a good. Every dollar ain't a good dollar. Because them people, like I said, they do stuff, and like I said, they don't really want to do something. So when you feel people don't really want to give something or extend it in some kind of way or sacrifice it in some kind of way, it makes you, it kind of just takes away from what they just gave you. If they do it begrudgingly, because you could feel that energy on the money. You could feel it. When people slow to do that, you could feel the energy on the money is begrudging. I tell them, people who feel like that, don't give me nothing, leave. I always tell them all the time, you should want to support this. You should want to support anything because that's a show of cooperation. That's a show of cooperation. Because you can be giving your money to anything, the so-called white man, you give him your money 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And all you're doing is poisoning yourself ultimately. Because you're handing over your hard-earned money to people who hate your guts, who can't stand you, who think that you're nothing but a nigga. That's who you're handing your money over. When you in their store and when you in their department store, they smiling in your face and talking all that. They don't like you. They just want your money. Now, and they acting like they like you. They don't even really want you in their store. They acting like they like you and whatnot, so they can get your money. You understand? For some nonsense that ain't even worth it. That's why if you ever notice when, let's just say they give you so-called insurance on it, something, and something get defective, you bring it right back. They give you another one or give you a free one or whatever because it didn't really cost them nothing to make. They can give you away. For the money you pay for a lot of the stuff you get, you need for the pair of Nikes or Jordans or whatever you paid for to give them $200. You should be able to get at least 50 pair of them, 50 to 60 pair of Jordans and whatnot for that $200. You're supposed to be able to get like 50 or 60 bags for $200. Those Louis Vuitton bags that don't cost them nothing to make, but you'll pay $300 or $400 for one, or those red bottom shoes, or that kind of coat, this kind of coat. And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having nice things, but keep in mind when you are possessed, right, with having money just to give back to mankind, to the beast, to these other races of people who can't stand your guts, you are poisoned. Your money's not pure. And this is why you will never continuously make it, because when you give money to them, it's like you throwing it right out the damn window. You throw it right out the goddamn window when you give it to them. That's all you're doing. You're throwing it down the bottomless pit, and none of it's going to benefit you. You understand? You're throwing it right down the damn pit. None of that's going to ever benefit you. You're not going to get anything out of that. You understand? Nothing. Because again, that's the mindset of poison people. That's the mindset of poison people. When you purify your money, you're putting it into something that is going to produce fire, motion, movement, light, extension. You're putting it into something that's going to do that. Like a good example, when we gave money to our travel fund, it got me moving around to different places to speak to people. So people are coming out and whatnot. That's the word in motion. That is the word in motion. That is Mentellect in motion, supported by Mentellians. My travels come because they're supported by Mentellians. We actually supporting something. They're supporting me traveling around teaching. I'm not coming out my own pocket. I put my money to it, but they supporting me to go around and teach. That's Mentellect traveling. And I was doing this before even people started coming. I was putting out my own pocket. But I don't care about that because I don't care about the money. Every time I do it, I feel good because I know my money's being purified. I'm actually putting the word of Mentellect in motion. When I spend money and whatnot, or I apply their money to get books made and whatnot, to pay for classes and whatnot, pay for cards to get sent for classes to get taught and whatnot, looking for buildings and stuff like that to house the first armamentorium. That, that, like I said, that things like that are priceless. That's what I'm in this for. I don't care about none of the other stuff. The other stuff is nice, like I said, a little material stuff here and there. I allow myself to get, but like I said, I don't care about that. I care about building up the republic, and that's how I purify my money. That's how I make my money pure. The community. The community. I feel good about that. I feel excellent about that. That is my only number one concern, building up Amon's community with every dollar I get. Everything else is secondary. Everything is second place. You understand that? Everything else is secondary and second place. When we get this word out here, spread this message, I can go to different places and whatnot. Travel around, spread this word. Bring in the elect. Build this republic from nothing to something. And that comes by way of sacrifice. That comes by way of sacrifice. That comes by way of people who are putting in dues and paying their dues and purifying their money, because that's what your money's going for. Amen first. That's how you purify your money. That's how you purify your money. Amen first. Nothing else matters after that. Not really. You might think it is, but all these things get smaller and smaller and smaller. The more and more you feed the machine, the more and more the machine continues to go. You got to feed the machine. Because we got some, black people, they don't want to support nothing they own. They want somebody, they rather support somebody else. They rather give their money to Caucasians for material possessions. That's why they're going to stay in that step of number 2. They're going to stay there. They rather support the beast for possessions. You understand? They rather do that. They rather hand over all their money. They'll hand over all their money and whatnot and won't think nothing of it. That's how you know they possess. But then when it comes to something like the Republican mental, like, it's $100 a month dues to be a part of it. I don't know. I ain't got it like that. I don't know. Don't worry about it. Forget it. Don't even forget it. You don't need to be part of it. If that's a concern to you, then you don't need to be part of that. Because you the type of person that won't think twice about handing over your money to the so-called white man for nonsense. For nonsense. You won't think nothing of it. Why? Because you are in a state of possession. Your mind is poison, and therefore your money is poison. And they love people who have a poison mentality. The so-called white man, he loves when your mind is poison. He loves when y'all don't want to spend nothing with each other. He loves that because he knows in your poison state of mind that you're going to hand over all your money to him. You're going to break your goddamn self for him. You will break yourself for him. Right? You will break yourself for him. You'll take that last dollar and buy them shoes, that bag, whatever the case may be. But when it comes to extending the community and whatnot, putting this community first, right, which you were supposed to be a part of the community, I ain't with that. Think about how that could have impacted them people when they was in Brooklyn, when them Chinese women beat the hell out them black women with the brooms or sticks or whatever the hell them sticks they was hitting them with. Now, if all them so-called black women would have got together and said, "Yeah, you know what, let's take our money and open up our own nail shop, and we just do our own nails. We ain't letting these people come in here and make no money off us. We're going to have our own nail shop." That would have been a way of them purifying their money, because that would have been something they would have did as a community or a collective of women. They would be like, you know what, we'll learn how to do nails ourselves. We ain't giving them a goddamn dime of our money. They coming in here hitting us with sticks and messing up our eyebrows, and we're doing our goddamn self. You understand? We're going to support our own. We're going to make sure it stay here. That's how you purify your money. You understand? That's how you do that. No, but that's not their mindset. They'd rather go out here and protest and march and talk about, oh, that wasn't right what y'all did. No, damn well, right after the so-called Asians closed down the market and whatnot, they said, oh, okay, so they'll wait for it to blow over, and then it'll be like pedicures, manicures, and your eyebrows done 50% off. All that picket line stuff will stop. All that picket line stuff will stop. They'll tell, 50% off on your manicure, your nails, and then there'll be a way to get the so-called black woman right back in the goddamn thing, like nothing happened, right back in the damn shop, giving your money to these people. You understand? Giving right back. They giving money to dead people and to things that are lifeless. That's what you do with your money. That's what you go to work 40 hours a week for, 50 hours a week for, to hand over your money for nothing. See, because your needs are very simple. Your needs are very simple. They should be very simple, right? Pay for the roof over your head. Pay for the food that you're going to eat, right? Pay for the clothes, buy clothes here and there that you need, right? If you're in a part of a community, pay your dues in your community. Do that. Support that. Because those very people in the community that you're paying dues to, that you're a part of, those very people, these are the same people about, you know what, we need to open up something over here. We need to start something over here. We need to put something over here so we can make more money. Because when you're making money amongst the community, that's a form of purification. That's a form of purification, because that money, as you're a part of the community, is going to trickle down into your children who are part of the community. That's going to trickle down them. They're going to look at that and they're going to be like, you know what, we can work together. That next generation is coming up. They seeing mommy or daddy, or mommy and daddy working together within the community, a community, a collective of people who are part of a community like the Republic of Mental. I'm not talking about you so-called black community. I ain't got no community. I'm talking about something like the Republic of Mental, like what we're doing. Then they already have it in their mind that I'm a part of a community, and this is how we do. And the children grow up with that mindset, and so on and so on and so on. And that's how you start promoting that cooperation. That's how you start promoting that power. That's how you do that. They got to see it by example. They got to see it by example. You are purifying their minds. You are cleaning the filth and poison out of their minds that, that they have when it comes to dealing with their own kind. You cleaning the filth out of their minds. And I'm not talking about when I'm talking about the mentality, I'm talking about our own kind of mentality. I'm not talking about the so-called black race. Because I can understand so-called black people not trusting each other, because you got some grimy Negroes. You'll deal more righteously with the goddamn white man, all these other nations, these other races. You'll deal righteously with them, but will stab your own people in the goddamn back. You'll stab your own people in the back. You'll rob your own people. But you'll deal righteously with these other goddamn nations, with these Caucasians, these East Indians, Asians. You'll smile right in their face and hand over all your money and be square dealing and everything. Make sure they get every dime, every penny, every cent and whatnot. But then when it comes to one of your own kind, you're trying to rob them, steal from them and whatnot, cheat them and whatnot, all kind of nonsense. So there's no trust there. That's the poison mind. That's the poison mind. Purification denotes movement. Movement to a better place. Movement to a better place mentally. That denotes that. That's purification. Movement to a better place mentally. Thinking of ourselves better. Thinking of ourselves on a higher level. Looking at ourselves as greater than what we used to see ourselves as a bunch of petty people. As a bunch of petty $2 worth of cheese Negroes who trying to steal from each other, cheat each other. No, it helps purify us and put our mind in a better place about who we really came here to be. That's what that does. Because when you can trust people and be like, I'm not thinking no ill intent when we in putting our money into something, or we paying dues, or we supporting the republic and whatnot. They not thinking nothing ill, like, why am I doing this? Well, because I know ain't nobody coming here. Well, we had Negroes that came in the Republic and did that for, why I'm paying this and that. Then why are you here? You told that from the door. That's meant to be a test. That's meant to be a test. The $100 a month in dues is meant to be a test. You understand? It's meant to be a test. Because if you can't even do nothing like support something like this, a community like this, for with paper dollars, with stuff like that, there's really nothing. It's really nothing. If you can't give that, sacrifice that, hand that over pure, then how do you grow anything? Because everything takes sacrifice. Everything takes sacrifice. And what is the biggest thing you sacrifice? Because you were taught that it was worth something. Money. Paper dollars. Paper. Oh, no, I could do something else with that. What? Give it to the white man, right? That's the mindset. When you question these Negroes about that, they're like, they don't want to say yeah, but it really is yeah. I'd rather give it to the white man. I'd rather give it to master. Yes, I'd rather give it to the master. I don't want to give it to you. You nigga like me. You just a nigga like me. I don't want to give it to you. I'd rather give it to the master. I'd rather see his family. I'd rather see his family eat. I'd rather see his family send their kids to school off of it. I'd rather give it to the white man, the Asian, and the East Indian. I'd rather they take it and buy more property with it, send their family to school and whatnot, do things with mama. I'd rather them do that. Because in your mind, you think because you got something from it, you got some material from it, you really think you got something. I told you that stuff that you were paying them for, it cost them next to nothing. Whatever they selling you cost them next to nothing to get. It cost them next to nothing. You understand? So it's like you basically paying them for nothing. Because if you knew where to get all this stuff in bulk and buy stuff wholesale and whatnot, like they do, buy it wholesale, you get it for next to nothing. And you'll be surprised the markup they give you on the stuff that you're buying from them. Sneakers, clothes, jewelry, whatever. There's always a wholesaler for that stuff. You understand? There's always a wholesaler for that stuff. People always wonder why these Asians, these East Indian Asians, they come and open up stores in the worst black neighborhoods in America. They'll come in the hood, all hood. They'll come in damn Watts in the damn, and in L.A. they'll come in damn Compton. They'll come in Brownsville, East New York. They'll come in like in worst parts in Detroit. They'll come all over 8 Mile, wherever the hell black people are in the worst condition, but they'll always open up a store, and people always be like, why they ain't scared to open up a store? They might have done got robbed at gunpoint, but they ain't gonna never close that goddamn store. They ain't gonna never close that store. You understand? They'll be like, they'll get robbed 1,000 times, but they ain't gonna never close that store because the loss they take in that robbery of the store is never gonna outweigh the money they gonna continuously make off these Negroes. Because they feeding their families off of that lovely. They feeding their families off of it lovely. They sending their children to school off of that. You understand? Just off of that. So they can get robbed 1,000 times. They don't care. They're going to still be open back up for business. They'll just get a goddamn gun behind the counter. That's all. Next time. You understand? They'll just get a goddamn gun behind the counter. But they're going to eat lovely. They're going to feed their family. They're going to make sure they got to do what they got to do. They're going to keep that open. You understand? They're going to come right in there and they're going to keep it going. But our people, like I said, we make sure that we are poisoned against each other and ourselves. We make sure we poison, and our money's poison. Our money is poison. As soon as it comes from the so-called white man's hand, as soon as you get it into your bank account because you're working for your goddamn boss who don't like you, you understand? You working for your boss who don't like you. He don't even like the fact that he got to pay you. These Caucasians, these Negroes, and whatnot, they don't like the fact that they got to pay you. If they could get you to work for free labor, if they can get you to work for free, they would. Slavery. If they can get you to work for free, they would do that. They don't want to pay you nothing. So already they got ill intent on giving you the money. And you already know how you know that is they never pay you what you're worth. You know you're supposed to be getting more money, but they give you the least they can give you. So what they really, if they could find out tomorrow, if you could wake up tomorrow and find out they can give you nothing to go to work every day and whatnot, then guess what? They would do that. So already, if you're taking money from people like that and they don't even really want to give it to you, guess what? Guess what? That money is poisoned. As soon as it hits your hands, it's poison. As soon as it hits your hands, it's poison. As soon as it hits your damn bank account, it's poison. You understand? And as soon as it gets to you in your hands, you already got a poison mindset when it comes to it. See, I'm telling you, it all carries this transient energy on it. Money and other things you wear, it carries a transient energy. It carries a transient energy on it, meaning that it is transmitted. The energy off of these people and what they put on the money is transmitted. Even your so-called Illuminati, they put goddamn curses and spells on the damn money. They go in the damn vaults and put curses and spells on the money. They do rituals to the money. You understand that? And they teach these Negroes who got all the money, that do get a lot of money, they pay off to do rituals to the money. They do little rituals on the money. They do little things like, you ever hear that thing about, yeah, I'm going to put the money on the bed, I'm going to roll around naked in the money? You ever heard people make jokes about that? That's a ritual. Rolling around butt naked in money. You understand? When you just happy to get it. Rolling around naked, we're going to roll around naked in the money. That's part of a ritual. But they make fun of it, though. But that is part of a ritual. You understand? Bearing yourself, willing to sell yourself for money. Bearing yourself, willing to sell yourself for money. Because that's the whole intent when they give it to you. They give it to you with the intent of you bearing yourself, being ready to do anything for it. They put that on there because that's how they control. That's how they're able to take control of you. Because as soon as that money goes out, when it's in the damn vault, before they put it in the circulation and whatnot, they do a ritual before it goes out. And when they take it out of circulation to burn it, like they do every month, they take so much money. When there's so much money in circulation, ever so often the Federal Reserve will take that money and go somewhere and burn it. Like you see in that movie Dead Presidents, that's what they was doing when they showing how they was going to take the money out of circulation and they was going to go and burn it because there was so much going. So they got to keep inflation down. So they was going to go burn it. They do a ritual to that. Burning it is a form of a ritual. Even burning it, when you burn the money, it's a ritual. You know, because like I said, all kinds of ways they could have disposed of it. They know they overprinting money and they know when they have to burn it. Because what does fire represent? Fire represents a form of cleansing it. So why are they burning it? Because they know it's dirty. They burn it because they know it's dirty. You understand? That's why they burn it. They know it has that transient energy on it. They know it don't have the hands of filthy people on it, demonic and demented people that put their hands all over that money. And then you see these people like they kissing the money and they rolling around and whatnot. That's you putting that transient and demonic energy all over your body. You understand? I mean, niggas putting their heads up against it like a damn phone. You know how many people probably touch that money? Talking, oh, it's fresh, clean money. Ain't no such thing as fresh, clean money. It's right off the press. You understand? It already had a little ritual done to it before it got to you. It already had a little ritual. How you think they're able to get people to be ready to kill for it, steal for it? You understand? Sell their bodies for it. How else you think they're able to enact that control? You got a group of people doing that. You got a group of people enacting rituals over that money so that they can keep control over the masses. They enacting rituals over that. You ever see when those people do that in the people doing the voodoo and stuff like that? Because that's where it come from too, that Budahia and that voodoo. What do? They got money and they light money on fire and all this other stuff. Ain't they doing that? Don't they do that? You understand? Don't they do that when they be doing them little rituals and whatnot? They had the damn money, the woman to give me the money. They set the money on fire and whatnot, and they pouring wine on the money, all kind of other stuff. See, all that's ritual because they know that the people who want the money, they're possessed. That's the best way to possess the people. That's the best way to possess them. You understand that? Even that ritual when they go in the strip club and they throw the money at the strippers and talking about they making it rain, that's a ritual. Y'all don't even know that, do you? You understand? That's a ritual. See, you got to watch the code words. You got to watch the code words. Oh, I'm going to go in the club and make it rain. Who introduced that? Your so-called rappers. Your so-called rappers. I'm going to make it rain. What does that mean? They're gonna cause what does water do when they use the term rain? What does water do? Water controls the emotions of people, does it not, who are on that lunar scale? Water controls the emotions of lunar people who are on that scale. Yes? So when they call in the strip club and talking about making it rain, right? They throwing the money up and making it seem as though it's like it's never ending. It's like water. They throwing it around. What does that do? That gets the women in a frenzy. He gonna make it rain. Denoting water, denoting that fluid energy, denoting that spiritual energy. Because what is spirit? Spirit is another way of saying libations or water. Rain. Rain. You understand? And what is another way of saying rain? They spell it R-A-I-N, or what is rain? R-E-I-G-N. Rain meaning to control. I reign over you. I'm going to make it rain on you. I reign over you. Control. Money. Control. You understand? And what are these chicks ready to do once these niggas make it rain on them? They ready to do anything, pop their legs open, do all kinds of sex acts and whatnot, because they made it rain. I'm going to make it rain on you. These are all rituals, code words for control. You understand? Why they make sure that they get all ones. Ones. Now, I talked about that in my class. I said, notice the so-called white man puts emphasis on the number one, $1 bill. He puts emphasis on the $1 bill. What do these niggas go in the club and do? They get a whole bunch of $1 bills. Now, they could get $5 bills. They could get $2 bills. Why do they get ones? There's because they make it look like it's more money. Yeah, they do make it look like it's more money. But, because these niggas is cheap, that's part of it. But the whole idea of ones, as one is the prime number. So just like when you hear in your mind, I'm number one, this person is number one. Even if you giving them higher denominations of it, they'll take all $100 bills and $1 bills because the number one resonates in their mind. You understand? You understand that? That number one resonates in their minds. And they'll throw a whole bunch because it makes it look like they can continuously make it rain. They can continuously make it rain. Rain is a form of control. You understand that? It's a form of control. You understand that? It's a form of control. So when they do that, again, it's the same symbolism that these rappers do when they got to constantly show other people, look all this money I got. Look all this money I got. Look all this money I got for rapping, and when the AK selling myself, selling my soul. Look all this money I got. See, I'm using the money as a phone. I'm using it as a pillow. I'm in bed with the money. I got tons of money and whatnot. Now, they take all these pictures with money. Why? Why? Because they're trying to get you emotional about it. What is the endless amounts of money? I said that in class. I said the reason why they're able to make money seem like it's more powerful is because they always show you in massive amounts. That massive amount goes to making it rain again. Right? Throwing a whole lot of money around. Massive material. Right? Massive material. the illusion that they're giving a lot of money when they really not. Because like you said, they put it all in ones, but the number one resonates as the highest point, right? In their mind, I'm number one. It resonates. Let's take a call. 410.
Hey, how are you? Mm,
How you doing?
good. So I'm glad that you did this topic tonight because I've noticed, like, with all this pro black movement or whatever, you notice within like the past 3 or 4 years, like, you've seen, like, black women go with their natural hair, whatever the case may be. But recently, like, you've noticed that they're starting to push shy away from that now and going back to wigs and weaves and stuff like that. And I say to them all the time, like, why do you feel a need to spend $300-400 up to $1,000 on fake hair when you could just grow out your own hair, and because like I know guys tell you guys all the time, you girls all the time that they don't even like the weaves like that, but they still do it anyways, you know.
Well, they do that because the weave, they're trying to look like white women, other races of women, and because in their mind, other races of women are considered to be more valuable than them, right? So they're trying to, how the white man promotes his woman as being valuable. He put her on fashion magazines and movies and things like that, things that denote money. And the so-called black woman, you know, she doesn't look like the so-called white woman. Her hair doesn't look like the so-called white woman. So she's like, well, I want to be on magazines. I want to be put on a high pedestal and valued and whatnot for material and whatnot. So I'll put a weave on my head if it gets that, if it gets that same attention and whatnot, I'll do that. I'll try to look like this, that, and the third, even though they look ridiculous. But like I said, this is why they do it. And also, they like the whole idea of wasting money on weaves. They like the whole idea of that because if they feel they got enough money to spend on a weave, they feel like they got something. Again, that's that whole poison mindset. They would rather waste $1,000, $500, $1,000 on fake hair to put on their head. They rather do that.
Right, but the crazy part about it is that most of them don't even have the money to do that. They got to get it from their parents, or they got to finesse some nigga out of it. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of crazy the extent they'll go to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Because they, like I said, they poisoned. They're poison. They'll do anything. They'll sell their body for it. They, like you said, they'll finesse some nigga out of it and some fool to pay for it, have sex with him, whatever. It's a few guys to pay for a weave. That's how sick they are. That money's poison, man. That whole aura and that transient energy, that transient poison energy comes directly from these elites, from these Illuminatis who are demonic, who basically, have laid down that plan of, getting that money circulated and whatnot, because their whole mindset is to make the people demonic or put a demonic energy on the people so that they do stupid stuff like this for the money. So that they like the so-called black woman. They want the so-called black woman like that.
Right. Like I don't. But my thing is, I don't even understand like what makes them think getting the weave is gonna make them more acceptable in this society. Because as you can see, it hasn't worked. Like
No.
because they're still being disrespected till this day. You know, like i.e. Serena Williams, they still disrespecting her till this day. So
No. She done
I
lightened
don't
her
even see
skin and
why they can
everything. She
see.
done lightened her skin, put the weave in her hair and all that, and they still getting disrespected. Little Kim done made her face look like a white woman. She like a pig in the face now and whatnot, and she getting weed and all this stuff, trying to get away from it. And there wasn't nothing wrong with her. She was a nice looking, cute girl and whatnot. Now she looks ridiculous, and she actually spent money to make her face look like that. That's the sad thing about it. She actually spent money to make herself look like a pig.
Mhm.
She actually spent money to make herself look like that. She like a Chinese pig.
Right. I just
Yeah.
don't understand it. Like it's like a lot of them just refuse to learn their lesson, or just see that it's not working or going anywhere in itself. But
Well, it's nothing they can learn. They're poisoned mentally. It's no different than the so-called black man who will sit in front of damn Foot Locker and be able to break down the door for a pair of Jordan Air Force Ones or
yeah,
whatever the case may be.
yeah, I
They all
remember
sick.
that going on. Yeah, I
They
remember
sick.
that going on a few years ago, ripping off cages of the
Yeah,
in North Carolina. They were ripping off the cages of Foot Locker or whatever.
yeah,
You
they
know.
sick. These people are sick. This is what they do. What they done. These are the things they value because again, That spell and that transmission, that transient energy of degeneracy is put on the money and whatnot, and it's going around within these people's pockets and stuff like that, and it's carrying that energy and whatnot. So again, you can't, as soon as you put the money in your hand, it needs to be out of your hand for purification purposes. It needs to be out of your hand. The very thing you should be thinking about doing as soon as you get your money is how to purify it. You shouldn't even want to hold on to it, even if you're going to go and purchase a house or something like that. It shouldn't be really carried around in your hands like that. It shouldn't be in your pockets like that. It should be on cards and things like that. I don't really carry money like that. Like I said, I barely do it because I know how many people's hands done touched it, the energy on it. I don't like it in my pockets like that. You understand? I don't really like it like that. You know what I'm saying? I keep small amounts and whatnot. I carry things on card because again, like I said, I don't want that energy of these people on, touching me and whatnot, because I can feel it. It gets to a point where you can start to feel it. And again, that's another way how the so-called witches, they're able to cast spells on people based on the energy and things they put on the money. You understand? Because people put a heavy impression on money. You see how people, especially so-called black people, when they get the money and whatnot, they really they really are like in love with the money and whatnot, and they really put their energy into it and things like that. So again, like I said, it's a heavy impression that these people make on the money, and they become possessed by it.
Right. Me personally, I've noticed myself. I starting to use Cash App more often now because, like, when you go to the ATM, 9 times out of 10 they try to take your money just for pulling it out anyway. So I mean, Cash App take your money too, but they'll take like 10 cents, 25 cents. Like they won't try to knock you over the head for it, but
Well,
it's
they
funny
just
that.
like the so-called. If you ever notice, like they done got just like the so-called white man when it come to money. These Negroes would take goddamn like the white man would do stuff like this. They would take out insurance policies on their family and then kill their family and whatnot for the money or whatever the case may be. Now you see black people doing the same thing. They take out insurance thing on family members or whatever the case and kill their own family members. It could be their mother, their father, and what? Because that's that money do. It got a demonic energy on it. They'll do
I
anything
saw a
for it, and
couple
they won't
stories
think
like that
nothing
too.
of it. Yeah, they won't think nothing of it. They doing stuff like that. So
Now this question is a little tad bit off topic, but like when you said, like, other races people taking money and putting it towards something worthwhile, so as far as like NASA and the space program worthwhile, they were putting money into that for years, you know, just so they could try to go to Mars and establish life on Mars. And I asked the astronomy professor the other day, I said, why are they trying to establish life on Mars if Mars is inhabitable? You know, and that led me to believe that Mars isn't inhabitable. Like there's actually air on Mars because there's ice on Mars, and what is ice? Water. You know what I mean? So, and what you need water for air. So that's what led me to believe that they've been lying this whole time, and that's what they've been funding all this stuff on.
Bro, I done did topics on that years ago, like going 2 years ago. I said they've been on Mars. They've been on Mars for the last 10, 15 years. They've been up there building roads and whatnot. Some of them already live up there. Mars is habitable. Yeah, Mars is habitable, brother. They've been up there. They got crews up there, whole crews working up there. That's where the white man, the elites, they're gonna go after they after they exit this whole thing and whatnot. Which a lot of them are gonna leave because they know that the Earth is gonna become closer to the sun and whatnot. And they're gonna the whole point of going to Mars is they want to go to a planet that is further away from the sun. Mars is further away from the sun, so they want to go to some place like that where there's not so much direct sunlight because sunlight makes your artificial people expire quicker. It makes your artificial people expire quicker. So it doesn't, so when they get that, that skin cancer and all these different diseases and whatnot, this melanoma and things like that, because like I said, when they get things like this, it expires them quicker. So they want to go to some place where it's a little further away from the sun. It'll be a little colder and whatnot, the air and whatnot, but they would rather live there. And this is why they're going to Mars. They already did. Well, they already did already. They just ain't going to announce it. Then why you think the guy, what's his guy, Richard Branson? He had the Virgin shuttle, right? He has the Virgin shuttle, which is a space shuttle. Where you shuttling people from on the Virgin space shuttles? Where can he possibly be shuttling them to? And it costs $1 million a seat on the Virgin space shuttle. So millionaires, that means multi-millionaires are paying $1 million for a ticket to go to where? Mars. That's a big
Right.
secret
Okay.
amongst them. They ain't gonna tell the world that. They only gonna let a few elite and whatnot. Trust me, they got cities up there. They got construction crews up there. They got people living up there. And they don't even made movies about. So whenever you see the so-called white man, he made a movie about living on Mars and people like that. They already there. That's the
Mm.
best kept secret. And eventually they're just gonna come right out with it and just say it. They did.
Right. So that means they must have been made the so they had to have made the spaceships that could take them there a long time ago. Man, they just been lying
Yeah,
about it
bro.
this whole time.
Well, the whole point of doing that when they went to the moon eventually, when they eventually got there, the whole point they didn't really the object was not really the moon. The object was really Mars. But they wanted to go someplace where, you know, Mars is more of a test to eventually get to someplace like the moon was more of a test to get to eventually someplace like Mars. You
Mhm.
understand? That was more of a test.
Right. Right. That
So
makes sense.
you know, so all right,
All right. Yeah. That's all I had to say. Well, thank you, though.
all right.
Mm.
And then it's still even not even you know uh well, I'm gonna leave that alone with the moon thing because I know the reason really was about um finding the finding water, and they did find water on the moon. There's water within the moon. There's water because if there was no water on the moon, it could not pull the tides on Earth. There has to be a magnetic pulsation or pulling of water to water in order for it to, you know, pull the tides here. And I told you on every sphere and whatnot, there's water. There's water on Mars. That's why they say they got the first place they when they go to a planet wherever if they're gonna go they're looking for water because water means signs of life. All right. And we're back. As I was saying, um, when that money goes into something greater than yourself, when you're thinking about something more than yourself, and again, that money would have to be within a collective community and a body of people that is focused on community, the greater community. That's how you purify your money. And then that's how you purify your money. When you are able to come together collectively as a community and you are able to make that inference on community when you are out and about and you're working. Because even then, when you start thinking community, when you are out and about and working your jobs or things like that, money will start to become more abundant. It will become more. It will become more available to you because now you're starting to think of just of more than just yourself. You're thinking about community and collective and what can I do for the community? What can I do for that community? What can I do? Because the community translates into Amen. The Most High, the Creator. The community is supposed to translate into the Creator. We as a community are supposed to be the extension of Amen, and thus we are Amen. So when you are thinking about what can I do to extend this community and use money as a tool to do that, then the money becomes greater. It becomes in more abundance. Trust me, I know. Money came more to me because all I think about is how to extend the Republic of Intellect. That's all I think about. I don't care about nothing else. I'm obsessed with extending Amen's community, Amen's covenant. And that is how I purify my money. And I've been purifying my money for the last 10 years. The last 10 years, or even a little more. Because all I think about is extending Amen's community. You understand? That's all I think about. You understand? So when I think of the bigger picture in mind, like I said, everything becomes more abundant. Everything. So when people sit up and they'll look at me and be like, "Yo, you spent this kind of money on a camera, or you did this, that, and the third," I'm like, "Ain't nothing. or you going over here, you doing this, that, and the third, and whatnot. And my family look at me in amazement. They like, "Are you able to do this now? You able to do that?" I said, "Because I'm thinking about the community. You looking at it from the aspect of me doing it. I'm not looking at it from the aspect of me going to these places. I'm not looking at the aspect of me getting a camera and acquiring a camera. I'm looking at it as us acquiring a camera, because eventually, in making films and whatnot, I want to extend my people, have my people working in concert and in unison with me on films, on graphic novels, on clothing things and whatnot, on magazines. So this is why I do it. This is why I do it. Because it's a community project. Everything I do in mine, from my Underlord clothing brand, the Underlord clothing brand, She Lord clothing brand, to Naturel magazine, to the film company that we're gonna come out with, to the music we're gonna get into, all the kind of things. Those are community projects. That's why. That's the only reason I want to even do it, because I'm thinking about the community members and members of the community, the covenant, working in unison with it. You understand? That's why I do it, because I'm gonna bring them into it down the line, so we can all make money, and not for the whole thing of materialism, but as a community that is earning together. We are extending ourselves, and we are thus purifying ourselves. We're getting out of that mindset of being like black people who feel like they got to scratch and claw at each other for every dime they get, just to get back to the damn white man, just to get back to him. No, we don't move like that. We become, or we have that rich mentality. We have that wealthy mentality, I should say. We have that wealthy mentality, because the wealthy mentality is, as soon as we send money out, as soon as we purify money amongst us, that money's going to come back 100 times fold in whatever we do, because we do it as a community. Everything I do is with the mindset of a community, not about me. Never was about me. It's about the community. I don't even exist anymore. I, as a person, don't exist anymore. I'm about the community. I'm it. The collective. And the people that come in here, they have to be the same way. The dues and everything we collect here is about all that is being laid back into the community over time. That's what it's about. That's how you purify it. That's how you purify it. That's how the Nation of Islam, the old Nation of Islam, not this new one, the old Nation of Islam, that's why why they prospered so much, because they purified that money. The money they were getting from the damn devil, the beast, and going to work and doing what they had to do to work and take, and go through working for the damn devil and whatnot, the beast and whatnot, they put back into the nation. And they grew it. And it made it all worthwhile. They built schools for their children. And it made it all worthwhile. They were doing something for themselves, and that purifies everything. That purifies everything. That takes the stain and the poison off of the money, because you did something that is about the extension of self and kind, the collective, the body. That's what this is about. Because again, you could talk all the black, we are our people, and we black community. You want to, man, you start talking about spending money with your own kind of people, your so-called black people. Watch how these Negroes start acting. Look at how they start acting once you start talking about spending money with black people. They can't even get over the whole thing of, why I gotta spend money with you, or why it costs so much. I can't get the hookup. They don't do that with the so-called white man. So this is the type of black unity they want to promote. This is the kind of black community they want to promote. You understand? One where people are nervous. They don't want to do nothing with each other. They don't want to spend money with each other. They don't want to work together. They don't want to do anything. You can't build no community based on that. That's a poison mindset. You come into that with a poison mindset. And we done had poison Negroes come up in here already, bringing that black mentality. We done had that already. That's why we find out, when I find it out, and then people acting funny, get rid of them fast. Goodbye. Because if you ever thought it was the issue about the money, I'll let you know it's no issue. It's no issue. Goodbye. Goodbye. I don't care how long you've been around. The minute it start being an issue about the money, or I don't know, I don't want to pay my dude. Why I gotta be paying? Goodbye. Goodbye. Because you just turned black, or you just showed yourself to be black. And we don't want no black people in the Republican intellect. Black people have a problem with purifying their money. Black people have a problem with paying dues and things like that, which is another reason why we put the dues in effect. Because we knew black people wouldn't want to pay it. They're going to make every excuse in the book. But in doing that, that's a form of purification, because if you can burn that whole stigma out of your mind of spending money, paying money, considering it a badge of honor to sacrifice money unto Amun and unto Amun's community and this collective. If you can do that without flinching, without even thinking about it, this is what I'm supposed to do. If you got that mentality where you got it in your mind, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is my duty. I'm supposed to do this, and not even flinch about it, and know that this is for the collective, then you purifying your money and you purifying yourself, because you could be a black person and be like, oh, yeah, I'm giving it, but why I gotta be doing that? Why I gotta be giving money? I'm saying, what you doing with it, nigga? Don't nigga. If you feel that way, then keep your money. Like a certain person promised some money and offered the money. I'm not gonna say what it is, a whole lot of money. A certain celebrity offered a whole lot of money and resources, claimed they was of Amun. And then when it came time to answer the call and they were put to the test, they flaked. They flaked. I didn't even flinch. I don't care. That was your test. You already know who you are. You came to me. I didn't come to you and I didn't ask you for nothing. You flaked. But it's all good, because, again, Amun will see you. Amun will see you. You understand that? Because you played with Amun. You played with Amun's community. You played with Amun's messenger. You played because you came and asked me. I didn't ask you nothing. I don't seek nobody for money. I don't ask any niggas for money. I don't ask a nigga for money. But I will if somebody comes to me acting as though they a brother and offers, I'll be like, okay, test you to see if you're going to do it. So I already know a lot of you Negroes, when it come to money, if you get a little bit of money in your pocket, you get a few coins in your pocket, you already belong to the goddamn beast anyway. You already belong to the beast. That's why I said, and I meant that, I said Jay-Z and Beyonce could never join the Republican Men's. If they came to me tomorrow and offered me $1 million, I would not take it. I don't want nothing from them, because I already know it's something up with that. I already know. I don't want it. All money ain't good money. People don't believe me. I'm like, yeah, well, sure, it was because I'm not a star worshiper. I'm not a so-called star or celebrity worshiper. I don't look at these people as nothing. That's why the Nation of Islam under Minister Farrakhan, these people in the Nation of Islam today, they let this guy Jay Electronica put on a damn FOI uniform because they starstruck and they feel like, oh, that's going to up their credibility by letting him wear FOI uniform, or Jay-Z could wear 5% of chain because he got money, and whatever the case may be. Don't have to study no lessons or nothing. These guys could do all that stuff because they feel like they got some money and they got some status or whatever. That's why they let them do that. Can't do that here. Don't want nothing from y'all. Nothing. You understand? Don't want it. And I'm not even mad about the money from this individual. I'm not mad about it, but like I said, I just mentioned it just to show you what I'm talking about. Because that's a person who claimed to be real. A person who claimed to be real, but showed yourself not to be. You showed yourself to be a black man, one who was poisoned mentally, because when it comes down to the paper, when it comes down to the beast, you worship the beast in the paper. So you should never even utter Amun's name, because you're not of Amun. You showed yourself not to be. That was your test. That was your test, and you failed. Don't fall into that trap, like I said, because a lot of our people are going to be tested just by that. Just by that. They're going to be tested just by that. By your inability or your desire to hold on to money and act like, oh, it's my last dollar. Because if you really believe that that's your last dollar, and if I give this, I'm gonna be mentored, then that's how it's gonna be. You always gonna be going around like that. That's why black people ain't never got a pot to piss in the window to throw it out of, because they always believe every dollar they spend is gonna be their last dollar. And usually they spend like it's their last dollar when you give it to the damn beast. You spend like it's your last dollar. He gets you to bet your bottom dollar, spend your last dollar and whatnot, just so you can sit up here and get those official this or that official that or whatever, this type of this and this type of that. All for nothing. We're back. Again, purification of your money is what will extend your money. See, you got a lot of black people who are just rich and they will always stay rich because their money is dirty. You got a lot of black people who are rich and they will always stay rich until they become broke because their money's dirty. Their money's filthy. Because All they're gonna do, like I said, they get it like slaves and they spend it like slaves. They get it like slaves and they spend it like slaves. There's no excuse, like when they had the Million Man March, there's no excuse why all them black people who got together and handed Minister Farrakhan them all that money and whatnot, why nothing came from that. Because the people that was running it had a slave mentality, and the people that was giving it had a slave mentality. You so-called rich Negroes, whether you in the sports arena, in the sports world, the entertainment world, whatever, your money is always going to be the same. You always going to be rich people working for wealthy people. You're always going to be slaves to wealthy people. Why? Because they purify their money. They make sure they put their money into controlling you and to extending their families and their bloodline and their collective and their community. The Illuminati constantly pouring money into strengthening themselves as a world power. They constantly putting energy into that, strengthening their community, their enlightenment community. And see, we have to do the same with the enlightenmental community, which is the Republican intellect. We have to do the same thing with this community, with Armin's community. We have to do the same thing. You understand? That's why we do what we do, collect our dues and things like that. And it's also to keep black people out. It's also to keep black people out because the minute you let black people into something, it becomes impure. The minute you let black people into something, it becomes impure. They're not going to want to spend their money over time anyway paying no dues. And that's why we keep it going. Because we wait for the black to come out. We wait for them to get frustrated. Why I'm spending my money on this? Is it really worth it? Is it a scam? Is it a We want you to think like that. Those who got that black mentality, we want you to think like that. I want you to say, is this a scam? Is it a hustle? Let me get up out of here. That's why we do it. That's one of the reasons why I installed it, for that type of money. Because 100 in the mind of a black person is a lot of money. Yeah, they rather give it to the so-called white man. They're poison. And again, you Negroes who got all this money, who millionaires and things like that, like Floyd Mayweather, he'd rather give $10 million to buy a bunch of cars than to give $10 million to set up a school for his people, or whatever. He'd rather spend $10 million on cars, on 10 cars, rather than spend $10 million to set up a school or help us get a school going for his people. Even if it's something small. You understand? He'd rather do that. That's why he's always going to be rich until he goes broke. His money is always going to be poison. His money is always going to be poison because it's always going to go back to the so-called white man. He's going to always put it in that rotation where the so-called white man hands it to him, and he does a reach around and hand it right back over to the damn white man. He do a reach around and hand it right back over to the white man. You understand that? They always going to be broke. They're gonna ball till they fall like Dame Dash and all them guys who had all that money, $200 million, all this money he had. Now he broke. You understand? And they're gonna continue to be broke. They might go back to being rich again, but they always gonna be fearful of going broke because when you rich, like I said, that could happen with you just hitting a lottery and things like that. But them people, once they get their money, they already starting to go broke as soon as they get it. Because all they're going to do is consume. All they're going to do is buy cars, clothes, jewelry, give it right back to the white man. So eventually they're going to ball till they fall. They're going to keep spending the money till they ain't got nothing no more. Because that's the minds of the black people, because their minds are poisoned. Their minds are poisoned and they are possessed by the possession. The so-called white man, and they use money as a tool. And when you use it as a tool, it becomes a purification agent. It becomes a purification tool. You use it as a play to sculpt yourself to make yourself a better person, at least on the outside and whatnot. And when you give in things and whatnot, it makes you a better person. It shows that you're a part of an extension of something greater. You believe in something. You understand? See, again, like I said, white people, you ever notice with these so-called wealthy white people, they always giving their money away. You ever notice that with these so-called wealthy white people? They always do something called philanthropic things for causes and things that they are part of, organizations and things they are part of. You understand? They always giving money away. Black people ain't going to do that. They give money away for causes and support things and whatnot because, again, that helps to extend them. The more you give away, the more you get back in return. Especially if it's something that is benefiting you as a community, as a collective. The more you support your community and whatnot, and I tell my people in the Republic, the more you support this community, the more it's going to come back to us or come forward and take us forward. If that's really not your thought, if you don't think that's real, then you don't need to be here. I don't want nothing from you. because you can't see the picture, you can't see the vision. You know, the philanthropists and whatnot, they give money to things because again, that helps to extend their wealth. In order for you to get things, in order for things to come to you, you have to put things out. And what better way to put it out but into your own community? And our community is the Republic of Intellect. That's why we set up the thing of paying dues. Because that was a way of purifying our money, because we up here doing something for us, supporting the community, our community. I don't know what to tell you so-called black people. I don't know what the hell you can support. All I could do is tell you, if you don't think like a so-called black person, to come into the Republic of Intellect and support this community. Support this community. The so-called Jews, they support their community. They go to work and they making sure they paying dues, tithes, whatever you call it. They paying whatever they pay in their community. They support their community. That's why they got yeshiva schools. They got temples. They got all this stuff because they make sure they pay into their community. They make sure that their community gonna have things for their children, for their babies. That's how you purify your money. You know, they don't sit on their money and I ain't doing this, I ain't giving this. They don't do that. But then you'll sit around talking about how they stick together, and you envy them for sticking together, but because they are willing to do more than just give lip service like black people do, claiming it's a so-called black community when there really isn't. There can't be no community unless you're willing to sacrifice, especially if you ain't willing to sacrifice money, which to me is a small sacrifice. It's always been a small sacrifice to me. My time is worth more than the money. My time. My time is worth more than money, but I'll invest that as well. I don't care. I got unlimited time, as much as Armin gives me. And so whatever money I get, I don't think nothing of it. So whenever I hear people tell me, oh, brother, but why you got to charge dues, I tell you, don't even write your letter. Don't send nothing in. I don't want nothing from you. The minute you say that to me, the minute you tell me that, oh, I can't pay $100 a month and whatnot to dues and whatnot, I don't want your money. And I'm not even mad about it. It's not even an anger thing. Just like the person who came at me offering me money and then going to jerk it back like, you know, like I'm supposed to go down in the buff and kiss your ass for the money. I don't do none of that. Never did. And I had money before. When I was in another world. You know, doing what I was doing, I had money, so that money don't mean nothing to me. That's what maybe I think why I had to get money early in my life and when I lose it and then start coming back from it, because again, it didn't faze me. It didn't faze me then, and it don't faze me now. Never did. It's nice, but like I said, at the end of the day, I don't live to give my money to the so-called white man. I don't live to kiss nobody's ass for money. I live to build up and do Amin's will and work, and will put my money into that all day. First and foremost, everything else, when I do that, everything else falls second in command. You understand that? And it always comes forward in alignment to something greater, always. Because I feel sick if I didn't do something to purify my community. If I didn't do something to send out, get cards made, send money out and whatnot, send cards out, send out whatever I got to do, I would feel sick if I didn't do that. If I wish I would sit up here and hand my money over to the goddamn white man before I do something for my republic, for my community. I wish I would. Ain't no goddamn way in hell. I would never have a mindset of no so-called black man when it comes to getting money. I'm not possessed by it. Never. I use the tool to utilize the tool and service to Amen as a sacrifice, as a willing sacrifice. So in that, my money's powerful. And I said this before, I wouldn't trade places with a Jay-Z or with any of these so-called celebrities who kiss the white man's ass for his money. I wouldn't trade places with none of you niggas, man. None of y'all. Not one. I'm happy, or I should say I'm content with where I'm at and what I'm doing and how I'm getting it. I'm content. I don't want nothing from y'all. Because I know what you got to do to get it. I know what y'all niggas got to do to get it. And you don't mind selling your manhood. You don't mind tucking your tail between your legs. You don't mind getting on your knees for the goddamn white man and bending over and grabbing your ankles or whatever the hell he asks you to do. You don't mind. You don't mind letting him put his hand in your goddamn back like a puppet and get you to say what he wants you to say and handle you with his handlers. You don't mind doing that. You don't mind not being men or not being women. You don't mind that. You'll do anything for money. And then when you get it, all you're going to do is give it back. So your money's filthy. You niggas are filthy, man. Your money is filthy and contaminated. And all it's going to do is go through a circle of contamination until it's going out of your pocket for good. And you left on the side of the road, on the side of the track like a $2 hoe, used out and turned out by the so-called white man. And that's good for you niggas and you niggerettes. Let me go ahead and read these things before I get up out of here. How do you purify your money? Give it to that worthwhile cause, which is community. And this is how we do in the Republic of Intellect. Because when our members pay their dues, $100 a month, whatever, like I said, I'm not ashamed of that. I tell them that because that's how you purify your money, because you are doing something for us, for our community. Same what the Jews do for their community and give dues or tithe, whatever you want to call it, to support their community, whatever we doing. We got to do the same thing. We can't act like black people. We got to give to us. And if that's too much, because I know how we do, we throw away $20, $25 a goddamn day, or more than that in a week. So for people to tell me, oh, I can't do that, I can't pay dues, whatever the case may be, brother, I can't, then goodbye, because you lying. You lying. Coming here lying to me, trying to get me to feel sorry for you. I'm going to tell you, get your black ass up out of here. Don't send me nothing. I don't want it, because it ain't even about the money no more. It's about you being sorry and having that poison mind. What does purify mean? Purify means to make something clean, make something spotless, right? And you make it clean and spotless for integrity and for extension. That's how you purify it, make it holy, really holy, okay? Sacred. Why do we need to purify our money? Because our money's filthy. And it already has the energy, the dead energy of the so-called white man, the beast, and all these different nations' hands all over it. You understand? And it even we even end up contaminating our money because we get selfish with it, and we want to. All we live to do is give our money back to him for clothes and material and nonsense, for hair, weed, all kind of garbage. That's why we need to purify it. Because nothing will happen for us until we do. Because you need money to do things in this world, and we have to have good money and good intentions, and that's purification. What happens when we purify our money? We become a real community, a real collective. Can we become powerful, pure money? Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. Because it's not just the money that's pure, it's the intention. And the intention means everything, because the intention means extension. The intention, the greater intention means greater extension. So, yeah. And that's it. Join me Friday night for the next Mentellect Radio broadcast. We're going to close this out in the name of Amen, by the power of Amen. And Amen we trust. And Amen we think. And Amen we continue forward forever. I am the intellectual Nuben Menkares. This has been Mentellect Radio. Good night.
It's the Republic of Mentellect, rising out the black race to the white race, out the black race to the white race. It's the Republic of Mentellect, black race to the white race. If it's hell, then it's hell us. They tried everything just to spell us. Fed us religion, gave us fake gods. Through all of that, we beat the odds. Now we coming together under one flag. Colors red, gold, and blue. Superman, Superwoman, that's me and you. The infinite capability